Hello. So yeah, my reading wrap up is covering the span of like 2 months now because I didn't do one for August because I thought at the time I was like I haven't read enough. I was very busy and I was reading very specific books for the Hugo Awards that are going to be announced later this month. I read all of those, and so I came up with like a special video for it, which you can watch on my booktube. I think it's right here. Yeah, there's my link to my booktube if you want to watch that. But I'll also be talking about them briefly here as well. That the ones that I read in September, and October. So yeah, I don't know. I have three. I have like I divided my book review in this whole like stream idea into like three chunks. I have books that I read for the Hugo nomination that I've already talked about. I have the webtoons and manhwa that finished up that I read, and then I have the other books that I read in the third chunk. Yeah, I think if anyone is wondering why don't you talk about One Piece on here? Why don't you talk about other webtoons and manhwa that you're reading? It's because they're not done yet. Like I have like a rule for the reading wrap up that I'm only going to talk about things that I like actually wrapped up, like they're done. And then like I also have a million VODs talking about One Piece, so just go watch one of those. Yeah, that's why. But I think that I don't know, I think it's good. And then chat is here now. Like I actually have chat on stream, so that's a good thing, I think. Yeah, so and then I have my reading rating if anyone wanted to see it again. I'm like literally in the way of it though. Hold on. Here we go. So just for a reminder, this is like my rating scale and things. I do half stars because sometimes I think I just need it for the books. I use it a lot in these last several books that I've read. So I think I don't know. For me, this is what it means. I've gone over it before, so I won't talk about like if you're watching the pod, just pause the video, you know? Pause the video and we'll be good. So yeah, the first book I have to talk about is Nona the Ninth, the third book in the Locked Tomb series. I read the entirety of the Locked Tomb series in a matter of like a month and a half, and it was whoa. I did it for the Hugo Award nominations because this was a Hugo Award nominated book for 2023, and so I talk about it a lot more in the video that I uploaded, but I'll still talk about it because I read it and you can't stop me. But I say that while knowing that I can't really talk about this book because it's the third book in the series, and if anything I say that's concrete would probably be a spoiler. But what I think I can say is that it's extremely different compared to the first two books in the series. The main character is Nona. She was a delight to read from the perspective of, genuinely. This book also brings back, it doesn't bring back, it just directly involves two of my favorite characters that have been ever introduced into the series, and I was very happy to get a lot of them in this Nona narrative. There's also a very cute dog named Noodle. Noodle's right here. Noodle! And I love this dog. The story is really heartwarming while at the same time being incredibly dark and almost bleak, but it just keeps coming back to that like Tamsyn Muir, the author, has this just really good comedic timing in her writing, so that like, oh wow, this is really depressing, and then she'll make you laugh. I think it's just really brilliant the way this book was written. I really enjoyed it. I didn't like it quite as much as the other previous books because I think the second book, Hera the Ninth, is like just a masterpiece. Like it's unlike any book I have ever read before. I want to say it's a masterpiece, but who knows? There's probably better books, and there are definitely better books. It's just like it's a triumph in literature as far as what she was able to achieve with such a complicated storyline that she's telling that somehow made 100% sense at the end of the story. Alecto the Ninth, I think, is the final book in the series. I think that comes out next year, and I want to read it right now. I want to read it right now, but I can't. So it is what it is. I talk more about it again on the other Hugo Award video, so watch that if you want to. I'll have a link for it in the description box in the bot. Yeah. So the next book is The Spare Man by Mary Robinette Kowal. I picked the better of the two covers that have come out. In my opinion, this is the better cover. You can go look it up if you want to see the other one. I think it's okay. It's just like really realistic art, and I think this more like stylized. Art deco is not the word, but like it looks very retro futury. Suits the book better, in my opinion. It is my first foray. It was my first foray into a sci-fi cozy mystery. Yeah, so this book is about an inventor and heiress named Tesla Crane on her, well, she's like headed to her honeymoon on Mars aboard a spacefaring cruise ship with obviously the person she just got married to, her husband. Um, things quickly go sideways though because someone is murdered like one of the first days on the cruise ship, and her husband is arrested as a key suspect for the murder. So now Tesla has to go prove her husband's innocence with her little Westie service dog named Gimlet and possibly find the true culprit. I think the premise sounded good in this book, and it was just like sadly the okayest book that I've read in a very long time. For the positives, Tesla is a disabled character, and I personally thought the disabled representation was pretty good. I'm not a disabled person, so I can't really speak to it, but I thought it was fair in any case. And her Tesla has a service dog, like I said, named Gimlet, and the service dog is very cute. Of course, I liked that. I think the fact that the chapter markers, like every chapter starts with like a little prohibition style drink recipe, was a very fun little addition that fit the theme of this book really well. But that's about all I got for like pure praise. The prose was easy to read. It's an easy to read book, but the series of events that take place to get to like the last, like figuring out the culprit, the finale, just were kind of boring. Like maybe there was too much running around in circles. I think there was. I get into it more, if you watch the other video. I think what would have made this book for me, regardless of anything, like regardless of whether it was super interesting or like had like a super great mystery going on, it's if Tesla wasn't so much of a Karen at times. She is justifiably outraged because her husband was wrongfully arrested for murder, but like she just like bitched out one too many random service worker one too many times, and it just made me angry. Like they can only do so much. Tesla, calm down. So yeah, it's a 2.5 stars. It's okay. I wouldn't really recommend it to people, but read it if you like the idea of a sci-fi cozy mystery. I think there must be better ones. Now, I almost want to go on a mission to find a better sci-fi cozy mystery. We'll see. Then I read Nettle and Bone by T. Kingfisher. Nettle and Bone has also been nominated for a Hugo Award for 2023. It is a very short book. It is just under 250 pages. I think that's a short book personally. I'm so surprised it was actually in the novel category because it could be a novella based on its length, but what do I know? The story is about Mara, a princess of the Harbor Kingdom. Her sister has been married off to the king of the Northern Kingdom for political purposes. And then Mara realizes that, like, this is not a good deal for her older sister. Like, things are bad. But everyone has just accepted that that's just how it is. The prince king man is just going to do what he wants to do. He's a prince, not a king. I think I said king earlier. So she's not at all part of, like, the royal court, really. She's off somewhere else. She decides to go on a quest to go, like, save her older sister. And she goes south to find a dust wife, which is someone with magical abilities that may be able to help Mara. And she gives her, like, this quest to build a dog out of bones, to sew a cloak out of nettles, and to capture moonlight in a jar. And if she manages all three of those tasks, she's supposed to be gifted something by the dust wife to get what she needs to kill the prince and save her sister. This book is, like, a very true dark fairy tale in the first half of the book. It shows, like, the harrowing realities of, like, being a woman or, like, being, like, born as a woman in the Middle Ages, and the dark realities of the world Mara lives in, and such things like that. But as the book goes on, things get less spooky. They get less dark, or gothic horror-y, I suppose. Dark fairy tale-y, grimdark, is that the word, I suppose? It just, I think, the stakes get a lot less daunting for Mara to overcome, and I think that's like the point of the book, but I also think it's like this world is still supposed to be terrifying. I think it's a really dark world. I don't know. I also think the plot really meanders in the last quarter of the book. Like, holy crap, we know what Mara needs to do to, like, save her sister. Let's just do it and stop talking about all these other random things that have nothing to do with it. The book has a lot of, like, interesting conversations regarding its themes that I discussed earlier. And I think the prose is really fun to read. I constantly wanted to go back to the book to find out what happened next, even the parts towards the end where I wasn't that interested in anymore. It was really fun to read. This was my first time reading T. Kingfisher, and I would love to read more from this author because I had a pretty good time. It wasn't my favorite because I don't really like horror that much, but I can get into it sometimes, and I think in like this fairy tale like way, it worked out better. Last for the Hugo Award nominations, I had to read The Daughter of Dr. Moreau by Silvia Moreno-Garcia. So, this book, I actually probably wouldn't have read this as my first foray into Silvia Moreno-Garcia. She has written several books, and a lot of them get like very like they're highly regarded. But this one didn't really pique my interest, but I had to read it because it was nominated for the Hugo Awards, and I wanted to vote and have a fair vote by reading all of them, all the nominations. So yeah, this book is a loose retelling on the H.G. Wells story, The Island of Dr. Moreau, and is told from two perspectives. Carlotta, the daughter of Dr. Moreau, and Montgomery, the new overseer of the facility that Dr. Moreau, his daughter, and his experiments live on, and it tells the tale of these two main characters as their lives get disrupted when a new fellow decides to stay at Dr. Moreau's facility. If you're not aware of the original H.G. Wells story, it's about like vivisecting animals to make them like into like hybrid humans. The original story is mostly about the power dynamics between people, and that is all here in this retelling as well. But it's set in 19th century Mexico, so we have some nice commentary about colonization, imperialism, and the slavery thing, like all its ugly forms. And rebellion as well in that time frame within Mexico. I enjoyed those parts of the book. I liked the setting of the book. I think it added to a lot to like not modern, because I feel like it took place at the same time period that the original Island of Dr. Moreau took place in, but it was just morphed into a way that made more sense for what Dr. Moreau was doing, I guess. To be honest, though, this book is really, really slow. It wasn't a bad time to read, but I felt like the plot moved at a turtle's pace, and a lot of the characters get fleshed out in their internal monologues rather than actually, like, doing things in the story. This book wasn't bad by any means, and it was not even written poorly. Like, it's written well. But I think, I don't know, other people are going to like it more than me. I actually am a little surprised it was nominated for a sci-fi fantasy award, because like, yes, they have vivisected animal hybrid humans like running around, but like it's not about that really. I mean, it is, but it's really not. It's not that important. I don't know. So the next chunk I have to talk about are manhwa or webtoons or whatever you want to call them, comics of the I don't know, how do I say it? Asian authors published it, but it's not manga. I don't know. Comics. That's what I should say. I talked extensively about Unholy Blood on the stream we had for this, and this is the only rating here where I'm gonna say, do not look at this rating if you like vampires. Don't just ignore my rating, because objectively this is probably like a 4, maybe 4.5 star series, but I still don't like vampires, and I'll explain in a second. So as this is we talked about this in Manhwa Club. Unholy Blood it takes place on Earth, where vampires have run rampant for about 10 years, and Hyeon, the girl in this picture, who happens to be a pureblood vampire, has decided to take it upon herself to rid the world of these vampires. And with the support of her rising police star man, who his name is Yoontae, that man, Hyeon steps up to discover her past and get her revenge on the vampires. So yeah, this is a perfectly fine this is perfectly fine comic book series, manhwa series, whatever. It's actually one of the better finished manhwas I've ever read.
Bruh.
I just am very tired of vampires, and I don't know when I won't be. Personally, I thought the story was a little repetitive, though, in the first half. Like, Hyen would she would be like, do whatever she wanted to accomplish, and then it would like immediately go into, okay, well, now we have to do this next thing that's very similar. But that shifts, that basically ends in the second half, and it goes in a different direction, which I appreciated. Gosh, Hyen is really cool. I felt for her and her story. She herself felt fresh, but the setting, I'm just not that into the power dynamic vampires or disease vampires or race war vampires. And usually these stories are one of those three. And yeah, Unholy Blood is not an exception to that. But if you like vampires, you'll probably like this. Go and read it. Yeah, the only vampires I like, well, I really like the Count from Sesame Street because, hold on, I'm not skrunkling myself. Hold on. I'll talk while I'm skrunkling myself. He represents the what is it called? The obsession with numbers that vampires have that can be seen sometimes, and you don't see that much. You just don't see it that much. I think that's neat. Obsession with numbers since when? Look it up, it's a real thing. Or salt grains, yes. Oh yeah, vampire. It's true. Vampires they have to count the rice if you throw it at them, and that's where the obsession with numbers comes with. Erythromania. That's what it is. I can never say it correctly. I feel like unless I'm reading the word out loud. I actually don't mind what we do in the shadows because it actually just emphasizes how lame vampires are a lot of the time. And it's just like it's Always Sunny in Philadelphia, but vampires and on Staten Island. So it's actually okay for me. With me. I'm chill with it. I think, honestly, I think Anne Rice's books are fine, but they just influenced, like, how vampires tend to be written nowadays so much that it annoys me. And What We Do in the Shadows doesn't do that, doesn't care about, like, they don't reference it too much, and I appreciate that. And honestly, I really don't have anything against Anne Rice. I actually think she's fine. She was a pretty good author. I just think everybody liked it so much that it stifled the creativity of vampires just a little bit. I also like that there are some episodes of What We Do in the Shadows that really talks about how being immortal kind of sucks sometimes. I actually like it when vampires represent immortality and like the repercussions of being immortal, but you don't get it that much. Usually it's a lot of the time it's power dynamics and race stuff, which is also can be fine, but it also a lot of time bothers me. Okay, I'm talking about vampires too much. Let's move on. The next one I finished this month is called I Raised a Black Dragon. The original series is by Dalseul, and it was adapted for a manhwa webtoon thing by Sottan. This is a beautifully illustrated webtoon about a girl named Noah who worked herself to death, and as a result, her soul just kind of floated around the multiverse, the universe, for a little while, until she finds a body. She finds this dead body, and she possesses it. And she realizes that she is Eleonora, the villain in a novel Noah read before she passed away. And Noah does not want to interact with the outside world in this fantasy world. She just wants to live a peaceful life that she has found herself in. But she ends up receiving a dragon egg that was not meant for her, but she got it on accident, and it ends up imprinting on her. And this has a lot of ramifications in this world. That's all I'm going to say, because the things get really complicated really fast. The story actually has a lot of really nuanced conversations about very specific types of toxic relationship power dynamics between people. And not just toxic relationships, just like one-on-one relationships between people that you trust, like the trust dynamic between people that can be built in very close relationships. Whether that's positive or negative, like both sides of the conversation are discussed. It has pretty good conversations as well about self-worth, mental health, and just like finding your way in the world, I guess. That's a pretty common one, but yeah. I'm making this sound like it's a really dark series, but it's actually not that dark. It's actually incredibly fluffy at times. There is a very cute little romance going on in the background, but that is my main critique with the series, because we did not get enough of this cute romance. Like, yes, I really liked the series and I would readily recommend it to people, but I wanted more, just like 2 chapters extra of this romance. Ah! Love the cover art. Yes, the whole series looks like this too. Like, it's just very, very beautifully drawn, very beautifully illustrated. So yeah, I actually readily recommend this. I think it's really good. It has really good themes. It handles the topics that it wants to handle in a good way. And I find that with a lot of webtoon type things that I read, like it picks up the topics, like it picks up on more rougher topics it wants to talk about, but then it just kind of like drops them off to the side. And this one didn't do that. And I appreciate that. I really appreciate it. Next, we have The Noble Pirate by Sodamyeon. The art was done by Manta Studios, which is like a, I don't know, it's like a reading service, so I don't know who the actual artist is. I guess the studio itself, because that's what it says. So, The Noble Pirate stars Rosetta, the infamous female pirate captain who gets poisoned and wakes up in the body of a noble lady named Leah. Now Rosetta is trying to figure out who killed her in the name of revenge, but this is very difficult because she is in the body of a young noble lady, and she is supposed to get engaged to someone, but she rejects a lot of people in this process, but then she meets someone who she recognizes from her time in being a pirate, and will he help her? What's going on here? Whoa! I probably should have stopped reading this series because I really wasn't having fun with it, but it was so short that I was like, oh, it's over now. Okay. The character motivations are clear but underdeveloped. Like, it's like, I know why you want to do this, but do you have, it's so simple. Don't you have any other reasons why you want to do this? Or don't you have more of a personality? The big reveal of who the big bad was like really lackluster. There's a lot of magic in this world, but we get to see so little of it, which was very disappointing to me, because it was like, wow, there's so much magic. Woo, there's all this stuff happening in the background, but you don't get to see it. Nuh-uh. And the romance felt weird. It's really weird. Like, this picture implies that there's a love triangle, but they're it's weird. It just wasn't for me, and I don't really think it's for you either. It's a 1 star from me. It's blech. Yeah, the next 3 books are all young adult books, which I didn't intend on reading solely, but it's what I guess I read for the rest of this time period. The first one is Legendborn by Tracy Dion. I had been intending to read this book for a while now. It got like really big in 2020 when it was released, but I didn't get around to it until now. This book is about Bree Matthews. She's a 16-year-old that has just started a university residential program for high schoolers, and she's trying to forget about the fact that her mother recently passed away in a car accident. On the very first night, Bree witnesses a demon attacking humans on her very first night at school. Wow, I said that already. She overhears her fellow students, like that, where they were like, they came to take care of the demon. They call themselves Merlins. And after that, Bree becomes determined to find out more about the secret society after she encounters these demons and Merlins again and again. So, as you can probably tell, this book involves Arthurian legends and also secret societies, I guess. Yeah, I thought the Arthurian legend part would be cool, and it was. My ultimate take on it is that this book is a really well book. What? I can't speak it suddenly. This is a really well written book for teenagers, and I don't mean that to be like mean. It's just, I'll explain. So the general pacing of this book is very good, but like the last like 10% of the book was really slow. Like there was so much dialogue, and I think truly it could have just been cut or put into the second book since this is like a trilogy. I also thought the instant love between Bree and the love interest was just so fast and that it was like not believable. They trust each other so much so fast. Somehow, even though Bree was like discovering that all these Arthurian legend things are real, and she was finding out about her own magic, which you can presume that like because of this and all these things, but she's like, oh, but this guy, he's just such a great guy. I thought it would end up being like a drama point, but it really fell flat. So like I enjoy this book. It had some issues. If I had been the intended age group for this book, I probably wouldn't care about the fact that I think that they it was too much about like the romancy stuff and not enough about the oh my god, I have magical powers stuff part, in my opinion. I think I will read the second book because the plot is interesting. I just thought it was really long at parts, and sometimes the characters talked too much. I was like, okay, stop talking. You need to do something. People are dying out there. But that's just my opinion. Overall, it's quite good. 3.5 stars from me. The next book I read is, oh my gosh, it was the book that I read for the, I'm doing like a book readathon where like I pick a book based on one prompt every month. This prompt was games, like had to be like a game word, so I picked Gambit, for like, it's like the chess move thing that you can do. There's also chess pieces here. I know Gambit can mean something else, but based on this cover, you might be able to infer that they mean the chess version of it. So this is the final book in the Inheritance Games trilogy. I read the second book back in like March or something, and I was like, wow, this very fun, mysterious inheritance story about this girl named Avery. She's just trying to survive high school and get to college on some nice scholarships because she's poor. And then she got to go to the reading of a will of one of the richest people in America, and it turns out the entire estate was left to Avery, and now she's trying to figure out why she was the sole inheritor and not like any of his children or his 4 grandsons. And there's a stupid love triangle between the 2 brothers that got in the way, and then the second book was all about the stupid love triangle between the 2 brothers, and didn't kind of throw out like the actual puzzle solving that happened in the first book. And I was very annoyed, but I was like, I gotta know how the series ends, so I read the third book. The second book turned into Riverdale CW level teenage drama, and it really annoyed me. But the third book was fine. There was a little bit of CW drama, but not that much CW drama, so it was okay. The stakes were higher, and there was a lot of puzzles for Avery to solve. I liked that part. It's honestly a popcorn read. Like, it's not that good, but it's written in a way that's like really easy to speed through a book, like if you're on an airplane or something. I really wouldn't recommend this book to the series to everyone, but if you're into stupid mysteries or like Riverdale, you'll probably like it. It was entertaining, just not actually that good, but I can't really knock it that much because it's not like the story was tight. I just think the way they got to telling the story was stupid at times. Very dramatic. All right, the last book I have to talk about is This Poison Heart by Kalynn Bayron. I was recommended this book, and I'm pretty happy I read it. This is about a young girl named Briseis. She has a gift to grow plants that are like... Or no, she just has to like be near a plant and it will grow. She's mysterious. She has mysterious powers. They just sprout to life whenever she is near. And if they were dying, they also turn to life. And this is cool because it's cool, but it's also hard to conceal. Briseis also helps her moms out at the floral shop for the summer because, of course, they are florists. And Briseis isn't feeling too good about her future because, like, being near plants is hard, and it's hard to conceal her like weird power, but suddenly she finds out that her biological aunt has passed away and left her entire estate in upstate New York to Briseis. So then she and her moms go visit the estate. They get to know what the small town is like and that like the estate is in, and then she also wants to find out more about her birth family. More stuff happens, but I kind of think you should just go read the book. This was good. There were really strong and good Greek myth themes in this book, but I don't want to tell you like what Greek mythological character it centers around, because that's part of the mystery and it would spoil it a little. All the plant visuals in this book were really nice. I think my only critique of the book is that it has like too many, like maybe 5 too many current cultural references that I don't think are going to age very well. And also this book spoils Get Out. Like, that movie isn't that old. Is that allowed? I don't know. So if you haven't seen Get Out, maybe watch it before you read this book if you want to. I don't know. Regardless, I think it's worth your time. The twists were really fun, and I'll probably read the sequel at some point. It was cool. It was really cool. And that's it. That's it for the wrap up. Thank you very much for watching. If you got this far, seriously, thank you. Thank you. I really appreciate it. If you did like the video, if you give it a like, I'll appreciate it forever. And if you want to like know when I release a video, you could hit that subscribe button if you want. Your choice though. Thank you very much for watching. That's it for now. Sorry, but thank you for putting up with the skrunkle version. I don't know. It might have been quite distracting, but I think I'll turn it off for future reading wrap-up streams. It's just how it was this time. It feels so weird, but you know, that's just how it goes sometimes. Thank you all. Thank you for watching. I really appreciate it. Have a wonderful day, whatever time it is, wherever you are, whenever you're watching this, and